Plunder Pit. Chapter 13. A Sound of Steps. "We've got to try it," Chad repeated. "I'll go first, you next. Clive and Jan will come last." Flat on his stomach, Chad drew himself across the great pile of jagged stones. The others stood by watching, hardly daring to breathe. Even if Clive had not seen for himself how desperate was the risk, the set look on Jan's face would have made him realize the danger. But Chad knew what he was doing, and came safely to the other side. "Now you, Mr. Clive," said Jan, and Clive, his heart in his mouth, crawled through the narrow gap. The roof above was full of cracks, and he knew that the merest touch would bring it crashing down. Then Chad's strong hands gripped him and drew him clear. It was Jan's turn, and it seemed hardly possible that his bulky body could pass through that narrow space. He wormed forward, inch by inch, and Chad drew a deep breath of relief when he too arrived in safety. "Put that light out," was the first thing Jan said as he gained his feet. "I want to see if those chaps be after us." "I can hear them," Clive replied. Someone was coming. All three could hear footsteps groping down the gallery. Then after a while a gleam of light showed. Suddenly there came a savage exclamation from Jack Treslow. "Shut up!" Ben Grint snapped. "Keep your head low like I do." "Yours ain't as high as mine anyways," retorted Jake. "A runt like you can go where a man can't." "I'll show you who's a man if you don't keep your mouth shut," Ben retorted fiercely. "And get on a bit quicker. We don't want to spend all night chasing these fools." "I don't believe they're in here at all," Jake answered sulkily. "They got more sense than to climb up a fox earth like this." "And where else would they go?" snorted Ben. "Out through that there hole in the roof, most like." Ben laughed harshly. "And who made all them footprints in the mine?" "Don't be a bigger fool than you got to be, Jake Treslow. They're in the mine, and they're in this here gallery, for they couldn't be nowhere else." Silence again, except for the sound of boot soles on rock. The light grew stronger. Then Jake spoke again. "There, what did I tell ye? This passage is blocked just like the first one. They just made them tracks to fool you. They're a mile off across the moor this minute." Ben Grint did not answer at once. The three behind the rockfall gathered that he was a bit staggered, but his silence did not last long. "This ain't no block. There's room between the top of the fall and the roof. They're over and past." Jake laughed scornfully. "You mean to tell me a thick chap like Otter could get through that place? You're crazy." "I mean to say that's just what he have done," Ben answered. "Be you going to follow?" Jake sneered. "Can't do nothing else," Ben said firmly. "Then you can go yourself," Jake answered harshly. "The money ain't minted as would tempt me to climb through there. I'd as soon put my head under a steamroller." "And that wouldn't hurt your head," Ben snapped. He paused, and the boys realized that he and Jake were just the other side of the fall. "See here," Ben went on in a quieter voice. "We got to catch Otter and them kids. If they gets away, the whole job's blowing on, and you knows what the boss will say, and do." Jake spoke. "If you want to commit suicide, I ain't stopping you. I've told you already I'm not going through that place." "Then you know what's coming to you," said Ben ominously. "I ain't scared," snapped Jake. "Anyhow, what's the use of money if you're dead? Squashed like a mouse in a trap. Shove on, and I'll go outside, and I'll have 'em before you." Ben went on. The boys and Jan could tell that by the sound. In a flash, Jan was up with a big stone in his hands. He flung it against the roof. With a roar, tons of rock came crashing down on top of the fall. The boys sprang away, and Clive switched on his torch. The air was so thick with dust that for the moment they could not see at all. When it cleared, the barrier was complete, and not even a rat could have found its way through from the far side. "What did I tell you?" came Jake's voice faintly from the other side. "You was lucky to get off alive. If you'd been a yard further, you'd have been flat as a kipper." That's the end of chapter